yourself, your dependents, and for the poor. That should be a desire of every Christian. Now, as I've said, Jesus says more about money than about any spiritual topic. And there's more about money in the New Testament than many Christians would prefer. Before we look at what the Bible says about money, let's just consider its place in our Western economy. I'm including Singapore in Western economy because it's part of the Western culture world. And frankly, I haven't been to many countries that display so much wealth as you walk around as your country. There's obviously plenty of money here, and you've spent it on all sorts of wonderful things to attract tourists, which in turn is one of your major incomes, having been a small country with few natural resources. And I'm amazed. It is an economic miracle here that this little island should produce a culture that it has. But in the Western economy, we are in what's called a consumerism culture. And we're very conscious of it every time you turn on the television. You are encouraged to get rich, to spend it too, and to spend it quickly. There's a lot of overeating and overdrinking in Western culture, but no one seems to try and discourage overgetting or overspending when it comes to money. The culture is geared to encouraging us to spend right up to our income and beyond it. Advertising is encouraging us to buy things that we don't need, but which we do want. And one of the secrets of controlling money is to distinguish between what you want and what you need. I'll come back to that when we get on to biblical teaching. We are encouraged to spend money quickly. And the advertising industry is not the easiest industry for a Christian to be in, because at its heart is a manipulation of human desire, and it's very cleverly handled to make you want more than you've got. And it's very easy to fall for it after you've watched some TV commercials. You'd very much like to do what they've urged you to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't put on TV commercials. If they didn't change people's appetites and habits, they wouldn't put them on. They pay a fortune to advertise precisely because they know it will change people's habits and introduce their wants rather than their needs into life. And then when you know how people are manipulated in stores, in shops, supermarkets, the very placing of things in the right place that you will want to buy them, the extra things that are just before you get to the check-in desk. The whole thing is a masterly manipulation of customers. And we've got used to this in consumerism. We know how to sell stuff, how to encourage impulse buying so that you come out of the shop with more than you intended when you came in. It's so very easy to be snatched up in a consumerist culture, but it's all around us. And so many people live right up to and beyond their income. We are encouraged again and again in a credit society to spend money before we've got it. And there's a snare there because it assumes that your income will go on at the same level, and you are assuming that and will therefore be able to pay it back. And then things happen to us beyond our control, and we're not able to pay back what we've virtually borrowed on interest by using a credit card. Society today is living on debt. Many individuals are, and the society in which they live are. I live in a country that is living on debt. We are borrowing from our children and grandchildren without their consent by living in the national debt. It'll have to be repaid by our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. But we seem to have no conscience about borrowing without their consent from our descendants. In Britain, our government is borrowing £1,000 for every person in Britain to maintain our standard of living. So a Christian in Britain can't help but live in debt. The nation is borrowing for our maintenance of a standard of living we've got used to. I'm just trying to state facts. And recession hits a whole nation. And therefore, the economy has become the major factor in our elections. At its simplest, people want to be better off all the time. We've got used to a standard of living that has steadily increased over the years. And basically, people will vote for a government that will go on lifting that standard of living. But when the financial situation crashes, as it has done a year or two ago, the nation is torn in an election. On the one hand, people want the standard of living to go up, but on the other hand, there are people with enough gumption, with enough sense, who will vote for a government who will reduce the national debt. And I think this genuinely happened at our last election. Whether our present government is able to do what it promised remains to be seen. But what has happened is that everybody's standard of living has gone down. And the further it goes down, the less they feel like voting for a government that will reduce the debt. And we're torn now between the two motivations. Behind all this is the big lie. And we need to nail that one straight away. The big lie is the secret of happiness is money. And that's the big lie. It is not true, but what we really want, freedom, security, power, respect, all demands money, according to the big lie. And the big lie is behind gambling advertising. It's saying you could be rich quickly for no effort other than buying a ticket. And since people long for security and freedom and respect and power, they fall for the advertising, which always concentrates on the rare winner and doesn't interview the many losers. But as I explained earlier, gambling is gaining at another's loss. Now, there are a number of aspects of money that I want to talk about in the light of biblical teaching. Getting money, having money, or keeping money, spending money, and giving. And the Bible has things to say about all those. It's a very comprehensive